G'day guys, how you going? Today I'm going to bring you a tank review on the 59 pattern. I'm going to tell you why I personally love the tank, and probably why you should stay away from it as well if you're considering purchasing it, or why you might want to buy it, because there are some good features of this tank. However, there are some pretty terrible features of this tank as well, so stay tuned and we'll run through the stats now. So first off guys, I want to run through the stats. So we can see here, if we compare it to the Type 59, which is the tank it's based on. It is called the 59 pattern for a reason. It's got the Type 59 hull with a, it's got a pattern turret on it. So the M48A1's turret on it, pretty much. It does have slight change in features, which does really kind of make the tank quite substantially worse in terms of its turret protection, but we'll get to that in a second, guys. So the 59 pattern, we're going to compare it to the Type 59, the T34-3, and the 59 Mutz, the Panzer 58 Mutz, I should say. So right off the bat, we can see that it has the best DPM, not by much. It does have 1,920 damage points per minute, which is better than the the Type 59 at 1,724, better than the T34-3 at 1,746, and better than the Mutz, which is at 1,800. Also, its penetration is better than both the Type 59 and the T34-3. Having said that, we do have to remember that the T34-3 does have preferential matchmaking. I don't quite remember if the Type 59 does. So that does explain why the T34-3 does have worse penetration, and it doesn't matter as much because you're not going to see tier 10 playing in that tank. Having said that, the Panzer 58 Mutz has 212 penetration, which, while not being amazing, is actually quite good considering it is going to meet tier 10, and also if you just touch the 2 key, you're going to get premium rounds, and that's going to be obviously quite beneficial. So off the bat, it does have not very good penetration considering it will meet tier 10. It does have a pretty good rate of fire, to be expected. Having said that, if you look at, for example, the T34-3, which is its Chinese medium counterpart, which you can currently purchase, it does have 390 alpha damage per shot, which is quite a lot. So although you don't have quite the same DPM, you do actually get more damage output when you do hit and penetrate a target. So that can be something that, with the 240 damage on the Type 59 pattern or the 59 pattern, you're going to have a bit of a struggle if you're considering just trading shots, because this thing really is not very good at that. Now, another thing as well is the shell velocity at 914. It's not great. Even though it is better than the Type 59, barely at 900, and quite a lot better than the T34-3. It is still quite slow at 900, definitely slower than the Mutz at 1000, so you're going to have to lead your shots a bit more. That's just all it really means. And the T34-3, well, that just has really bad in general, because it is a heavier shell, and it does do more damage, and this is kind of, it's kind of the pattern with these kinds of 122mm Soviet-based guns, which is what it is. Now, it can carry a decent amount of ammunition, certainly more than the Type 59, so you don't have to worry about losing all your ammunition. Having said that, it's not an insane amount. Like, look at the T34-3 at 15,600. That is quite a lot. So although you don't really have to worry about losing ammunition, you do have to keep it in the back of the mind that maybe you want to have a little bit more APCR, or maybe you have to carry less in order to carry more AP if you want to keep this as solely a credit-making tank, which this tank is pretty good at. Now, getting to gun handling, this is where this tank really does shine. So, although it doesn't have the best aim time, it's got a pretty okay aim time of 2.3, definitely better than the Type 59, way better than the T34-3, and on par with the Mutz. Having said that, it does have probably one of the better dispersions in class of 0.36, and also while the tank is moving and while the turret is moving, is really, really good. And this is kind of the benefit of this tank, is that you can move and still have really good accuracy, and that's kind of what this tank is made for, because when we get onto the armor, you'll see it doesn't have the most amazing armor. It does have pretty okay armor, but if you move about a lot, it actually does help to block a lot of shots, because if people don't aim or can't aim properly and hit the pretty glaring weak spot on this tank, then you will have a high chance of bouncing quite a lot of shells. So that's a really good positive of this tank. So we can see that it does have really, really good dispersion values, especially when compared to its counterparts. And also after firing is really, really good. Now, its gun elevation is okay at 19 degrees. It's not terrible. It's not amazing. You know, it's pretty average. Now, its gun depression on paper looks really good at 9 degrees, but in actuality, if we look at the model itself, we can see that it's only 7.4 degrees at the front of the tank, and that's over quite a large part of the tank, and only actually goes to 9 degrees when you look down the side over the tank on either side. So it's more got probably about 7 degrees gun depression, which is still really, really good considering it is a Chinese tank, and Chinese tanks do not have very good gun depression in general. This one, it does have pretty good gun depression, so you don't have to be too worried about that. Even 7 degrees over the front is still pretty good. It's not really good, it's pretty good. And over the side at 9 degrees, that is actually it is very useful. And you will see at times when that is really useful to you, and you're going to use that 9 degrees of gun depression, of course. Now, its mobility is really average. We can see here that it is the worst out of these three comparison tanks here. The Mutz, it has nothing on the Mutz because the Mutz has really good, well, not really good, but good power to weight ratio and pretty good terrain resistances. But here it's got a pretty bad power to weight ratio of 14.3 for a medium tank, and also its terrain resistances aren't that great. You know, the T-34-3 with probably a better turret in my opinion and a bigger gun is still going to move quite a lot faster. Well, not quite a lot, but it is going to move faster than the 59 pattern. It does have good forward speed. It will reach probably around 40 to 45 kilometers per hour, but much more than that, not really. Also, its traverse, it's pretty good. You know, 44 degrees and 46 degrees is actually nothing to be sorry about. The Mutz does have not the greatest of traverses when compared to this, especially its turret traverse at 36 degrees, but you know, it's still not, it's mobility wise, it's okay. I mean, it's okay for a medium tank, and that's really about it. But if we look at its hull armor and turret armor, this is where this thing kind of shines. I mean, this tank is really, it's quite an average tank overall, but it does have pretty good hull and turret armor. So I mean, if we look at the model here, and we bring the gun back to the front, you can see three things about this tank. One, it looks like a Type 59. Two, it's got a pretty mean looking turret. And three, it's got another pretty mean looking turret right on top. I mean, look at that. It's quite horrific. I mean, the worst part about this tank is that you're playing your gun, you know, there's a ridge, and you're looking at the ridge, and someone shoots you and hits your thing and hits your little cupola, hits your big cupola on top because you can't see them, but they can see you. I mean, this thing is huge, like really, really big. It might as well be its own tank, and it gets hit all the time. If you ever get penetrated in this tank, all you have to do is look at the mini turret on top, and well, the not so mini turret on top, and the shot will almost certainly have gone through it. I mean, it is massive, massive. I mean, I can't even describe how annoying it is at the best of times getting penetrated in there. But having said that, the armor elsewhere is pretty good. When you're meeting tier 6, tier 7 tanks, you're going to be able to bounce quite a lot of shots. You're going to feel like a bit of a bully, especially to tanks like the IS or other tanks like that with 175mm of penetration. I mean, you just get the funniest of bounces. It does have pretty good side armor, especially when a tank shoots it. You'll probably get tracked, but you will bounce a lot of shots there. Its lower plate is quite strong as well, and a lot of tanks will shoot it there, so you are pretty lucky there. Also, its turret armor can be really good, and it also can be pretty average. I mean, you often get tanks just throwing shells at the turret, and you know, 50% of the time it'll go through, 50% of the time it won't. When compared to the T-34-3, its turret just isn't as good, mainly because of this. I mean, look at it. Look at it. It is tall. It is like as tall as the turret itself, and that is really quite a shame. It really is a shame. And when you look at like the normal M48 pattern, you can see that if it wants to load up there, you can see that its turret, mini turret, is actually quite a lot smaller when compared to the 59 pattern. So yeah, don't expect to have the same sort of reliability you might have on a M48 pattern. It's just not there. Having said that, it does pull off bounces from time to time, which is a really pleasant thing at the best of times. But the real way to play this tank is when you're on a ridgeline, you're moving back and forward, you can cover your hull, the side of your hull, roll back and forward, and just hope to God that they're not going to hit this turret. But you can see it's just massive. It's absolutely massive. And if you have 220 millimeters of penetration, which this tank will see quite a lot, remember it does see tier 10 games. A lot of tanks will just shoot straight into the turret and get straight through it. So that is something you really need to worry about. But there's nothing much you can do about it. Now, probably the best thing about this tank, and this was buffed actually quite recently, is that the view range of this tank is 400 meters, and that is really, really good. We can see it's 20 meters better than the Type 59, the T-34-3, and the Mutz. It's a lot better. What that means is that you are going to be able to reach that 440 meter view cap, and you're going to be able to spot tanks before they spot you, and soak up a huge amount of, or rack up a huge amount of spotting damage. This tank is amazing for spotting damage if you have the right crew skills as well, or if you don't have the crew skills quite yet, and you put on a coated optics, you will reach that viewpoint max, and you'll be able to spot tanks well before they see you, and hopefully your team will shoot them. In the garage now, and I want you to be able to see why I personally love this tank, and it's not because it's good, because really it's not that great. It's because I love the way it looks. I just think it looks absolutely fantastic. Now, looks are very subjective, and it might be really stupid to some people that I'm playing a tank because I love the way it looks, but really I do. I love the way it looks, and the way it plays is actually okay, especially when you snap off a few shots. Yes, not all the time that's going to be working in your favor, but often it does, and I just think that this tank isn't as bad as people say it is. Despite this massive weak spot on top, it does pull off quite a lot of bounces, as I will show you in the replay, and I just think it's pretty good. Also, I do love myself a few of the Chinese medium tanks. I don't know why, I really like them. Now, with equipment, what I always put on is a medium tank gun rammer, because that just means you get high DPM. You always want high DPM, you get better games. Now, you could put on vents. That is something that I have been thinking about switching out, actually, my coated optics for vents, because I probably have enough kind of view range as it is to be able to spot really far without needing the coated optics, so to reach the maximum view range. Having said that, it's not something I've done yet. It's not something I really care about at the moment, but that's probably what I would do if you had a good crew. Now, if you don't have a good crew, then keep the coated optics, get that 440 meter view range. I mean, when you do, as I said, you're going to be spotting tanks before they spot you, and you're going to get a lot of extra damage by spotting damage, and I think that's really important, especially since this tank, you're not going to get most of the time incredibly high damage games, because it just doesn't really have the penetration to be able to go through a lot of the tanks, especially the new objectively overpowered tier 8 tanks that Wargaming's been introducing recently. And the tier 9, tier 10 heavy tanks, forget about it. You're not going to go through the front of it, maybe the side, and even like the turrets of the tier 10s, you're still going to have to load the heat rounds and able to go through. But whatever, that's a balancing issue for Wargaming, not me. But how about, rather than me droning on about this tank, we have a look at gameplay and see just how good this tank is in practice. Alright guys, so we're in battle now. We've got Deed here, Deed or Day-Day, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm just going to call him Deed. He's in his 59 pattern. He's clearly pretty good because he's got 2 marks of excellence on his tank, so we know that he does have a pretty good damage output on this tank, but he's going to be taking quite an offensive position, which is something that I would recommend, especially on Prokhorovka like we're on now, to be able to spot on the map itself is pretty doable in this tank with its good view range, as we know. He's also in a really good matchup here, so he's one of the 3 top tiers on his team, so yeah, look, he's doing pretty well. So he spots a 1375, or someone on his team does, and you can see there just how good, or how easy it is for this tank to snap in shots. He doesn't aim there, but we can see that he just aimed at it, quickly shot it, and he was able to get into it without having to aim really at all. Artie tries to go for him. We all love Artie now, don't we? Aiming at the IS. Will he get it? Will he get it? He does get it. So, you know, the IS isn't an incredibly armored tank with 90mm at the front of it, but, you know, it can it can bounce some shots, so it is pretty good that Deed, yeah, I'm going to stuff this up quite a lot in this video, but Deed was able to go through the side of his tank. So, starts off a bit slow this game. So he's got one hit so far and only 24 spotting damage. The Oho, tier 8 Japanese, super heavy. Will he go through the turret armor of that? Probably not with his 190mm of penetration, but you know what? He gave it a try. Now, we can see that he's just going to keep driving around here for a bit. I mean, we do have some light tanks on the team spotting for us here. You can see also that Deed is using some of his side depression here to be able to look down over the ridge, because the 7 degrees on the front isn't quite good enough for most circumstances here. He is playing really, really careful as well. Trying to get shots on that VK. No, doesn't quite make it. Gets spotted. Doesn't take the shot on the Oho, probably because he knows he can't penetrate the front of it. Even with premium rounds, he's going to struggle. It's only 250mm of penetration on the heat rounds, and although they don't lose penetration over distance, it's like a 50-50 whether it will go through. So we see the VK here. Can he hit him? No. And this is another issue of this tank, which I would like to mention. It is quite low. The gun is quite low to the ground, so it doesn't actually do a great deal of it is quite hard at best of times to hit tanks over ridge lines without going really close to the edge. So he gets a hit on the AMX 1375, and we have the Scorpion coming up. And just look how he keeps his tank side on. That's really what you have to do in the 59 pattern. You really got to keep it side on. Takes a blind shot there. Don't know if it hits or not. We got that VK coming out. It does get hit by the 1375. We can see bounces a shot through the angled armor. Oh, here we go. VK 30.1D. Gets a shot on the move. I mean, again, do I really have to reiterate it? It's really, really good at snapping shots. And we can also see that this game is moving pretty damn fast. So far in his team, he's lost 6 team members, and the other team have only lost 4. He's also getting hit by that AMX 1375, which you can't quite spot, meaning he's behind a bush somewhere, and is using quite effective cover. He's losing even more of his team now. It's 4-7, so the game is getting quite close now in terms of, will he be able to carry the rest of his team in order to win the game? We all know the answer to this one, I think. But keep watching to find out. Oho again. Ooh, just misses. That would have been a nasty hit. Probably taken out some of his modules using that high explosive. Probably using the 150mm gun on that 15cm, but if he is, it's going to be a really, it's going to really ruin the day for Deed here. And he spots 1375. Again, shot on the move. Really, really good. And let's just have a quick look at where he's bounced a lot of his shots. We can see that he's bounced 3 shots on the front of his tank. And a few shots off his turret as well. Now, some of these are modeled in, but for example, there we can see he has bounced some shots. No shots through the front of his mini turret on top, which is a pretty good sign for the tank, but not quite the end of the game yet. And you can see as well that 1375 had switched to APCR rounds, so he was blocking a relatively high penetration. It's not really high penetration, let's be honest, but he was able to bounce a premium round there from the 1375. He goes out to spot more tanks, taking more aggressive position, gets hit by the KV2 with that damn high explosive. He's trying to get shots off. Again, that low mounted turret or low mounted gun is quite frustrating. He fixes his commander. Sorry, I'm so entrenched in the game. That IS is rushing him. Gets a shot off. Misses. The IS misses. And he goes back to try and hit him again. Bounces off the front of his turret. Bit unlucky there because the IS doesn't have the strongest of armor. But does shoot him. Takes it away. 235 is damage and 5 more hit points are taken off by the Indian Panzer on his team. So you can see here the scores are starting to get a bit more even with 6-8, 7-8 now. Does take a shot to the KV2. Will he hit him again? He hits him again. Again, that movement, really, really good. You can see he's going back and forward and shooting over the side of his tank. Does get hit by the KV2. Let's see where he gets hit. Just in the turret area. Doesn't quite get hit in that really annoying mini turret. Hits the FV304 without even aiming in. I mean, we can see here that the snapshotting is fantastic. Scores are pretty even, 9-10. We can see that the east side of the map has been taken over quite a lot. Aims at the Yag Panther. Hits him in the side. Will he be able to hit him again? Does hit him, but it goes a bit low and I think hits his tracks. But does take out his tracks. We got the Steyr Wolfentrager there. Gets taken out by the Indian Panzer, so that's alright, dude. Keep moving forward. Find the artillery. Hopefully we'll find as well, I believe that's a KV-1S and the T-34-85. They haven't been spotted yet, actually, so they're hiding somewhere. Now now Deed is pinging the map for his artillery to move because he's not going to be able to protect them too well over there, and they could get taken out. And as much as people hate artillery, they can be pivotal for the success of the game. So he is motioning them to move, which they are doing. So far he's done 2,414 damage, 1,500 spotting damage. He's already had a good game. Even if the game ends now, he's done pretty well, but Deed is going to show us how you can do even better. He's also blocked 795 damage in this tank. A lot of that did come from the AMX 1375, bouncing off the front. But, you know, he's lost a lot of damage to high explosive shells, for example, from the KV2. So, hasn't been a real great indicator of how strong the armor is, but the armor can be really good, especially when you're moving and trying to make sure the enemy does not hit your weak spots. Now, he is being aggressive again. He doesn't have that many hit points, but he is still taking pretty aggressive positions, trying to spot for his artillery. And a Yag Panther was spotted. He was spotted as well. Their artillery probably will be aiming in at him. He's got to keep moving, and if he stops, he could get hit by the GW Panther, and we can see it did try and take a shot, but thankfully it missed. Artillery, even though it was buffed, it's still artillery. So he's going back to try and spot that Yag Panther now. Will he be able to spot him again and get a cheeky cheeky shot into the side of him? Oh, T26E4 was spotted. Slow tank, but it does have a lot of armor. He's got to be really careful here. You can see that. Oh, he's really hoping that the T26 won't hit him, but artillery has hit him. Has hit the T26E4. It has stunned him. He's going to try and hit at his weak spots. And you can see, you know, the T26, it is quite a well armored tank, but doesn't have the best. It doesn't have the best. The 59 pattern doesn't have the best penetration to be able to get through the side of the tank. And you can see now that one of the artillery has been taken out. Oh, sorry, not the artillery, the Indian Panzer. So that really adds another element of he's screwed to the game. And we got a full health T-34-85. And we think we've also got a full health KV-1S on the team as well, because that hasn't actually been spotted yet. So you can see Deed here is trying to get some side shots into him. Oh no, the T-34 does go behind the ridge. But we can see we've spotted the T-26E4. Hit him in the side. Let's hit him in the back again. Come on, Deed. You got this. Fantastic. It's a T-150, sorry. It's not a KV-1S. But they have been spotted. They're going for the M12. The M12 really doesn't stand a chance. And now it's Deed versus 4. One full health tier 6. One almost half health tier 6. And we know that the Yag Panther is on about 34%, I believe. So he's staying behind a bush. The T-150 has bad view range, and we know that the 59 pattern has really good view range, so he's going to try and use that to his advantage. He really can't take many more hits, however, and if that Jagdpanther is using the 105mm, it's not going to be great, because that will take off a huge chunk of his hit points. But you can see that he is able to hit that T150 and go through his armor. That 190mm is good enough for getting through that. And he's spotted the Jagdpanther as well. Has the Jagdpanther spotted him? No, he hasn't. Jagdpanther as well doesn't have great... Oh, look at that. He shot straight through the bushes. Blind fire was able to hit him. Only 2 tanks left. The game is looking up. He's done 4,481 damage. Absolutely fantastic. 1,500 spotting damage. He can't get any more now, considering that there's no one else on his team, so we don't really need to worry about that figure. But still got to be careful about that artillery. If that artillery hits him in the back or hits him on top, and he can set him on fire or do some serious damage to his tank, he needs to be really, really careful. But where is that T-34-85? We know it's somewhere around here. There it is. Will he be able to hit him? Yes. Oh, misses. No. Don't want to get hit. Don't want to get hit. Or missed. Goes in. Rushes in. Bounces a shot. And is able to take out that T-34-85. And now it is a bit more relaxing. Deed has more time now to think about what he's going to do and what his next move is. Gets hit by the artillery, but thankfully only gets stunned. No damage. That is wonderful, because if he got hit there and even lost 100 of his hit points, and then that GW Panther was able to reload and shoot him again, it could really ruin his day, ruin the match, and as Quickie Baby would say, be an absolute heartbreak. But let's see what's going to happen now. Deed is moving forward, going to try and spot that GW Panther and take him out. Let's speed it up if we can a bit. The timer is running out, so now Deed has to think, will he cap or will he try and find that GW Panther? If he caps, then he has to wait 1.5 minutes, and that would be such a stressful wait, because if that GW Panther is able to spot him or blind fires and hits him, that could ruin the match, could lose the game, and things go bad. So Deed decides that he would rather just go off and find the artillery, which is a really risky move, and he's found him. Got to be careful here. Oh no, will the GW Panther hit him? Go Deed. Deed is able to take him out effectively and win the game for his team in an absolutely fantastic game. Let's check out the post-game stats. We're in the post-game stats now, and as you can see, Deed had an absolutely fantastic game. He got the Mastery Ace Tanker badge. He got Spotter for enabling 1,000 hit points or more worth of spotting damage. He got Bruiser. He got Fire for Effect. He got the Pascucci's medal for standing alone against, or for destroying anyway, 2 enemy SPGs. Is it that incredible? That's up to interpretation, but he did get that epic medal. He also got the High Caliber, and he got the Top Gun for the 6 kills. So quite a good result there for him. He got 1,825 base experience, which is absolutely huge. 5,330 damage. And he was able to make a pretty good profit on the game of 79,669. And this is something I think I failed to mention. These shells are quite cheap. I think they're about 305 credits per shell. So this is a pretty good moneymaker if you can get your shots in. So guys, what are my thoughts on this tank? Would I buy it if I had the chance to do it again? Should you buy it? Would I buy it? Yeah, I would buy it. It's not because I want to throw away money or because I'm very, very rich, because I promise you I'm not. It's because I just like the way this tank looks, and I think a big part of playing any game is just liking it for the way it looks, the way it plays, etc. Should you buy it? I think that there are better tanks out there. That's just the reality of it. There are better tanks out there. If you're looking for a better tier 8 medium tank, then the T26 is a pretty good medium tank. Also the T34-3 is actually quite a good medium tank out there that has preferential matchmaking, is a good money maker as well. and it's just fun to play with because it's got a better turret for sure. Not as good front like hull armor, but a better turret. It does have some strength, but I couldn't say that you should get this tank because it's great, because it's just not. It's very average. It's very, very average indeed. But if you want something for a crew trainer, for maybe a Chinese crew, or you just like Chinese tanks, or you like the way this plays, because it does have a quite American play style in terms of being able to snap shots out there, then go ahead, get this tank. I think you'll enjoy it. You're going to have some games where you want to throw your keyboard. You're going to have some games where you do well. I guess that's just World of Tanks. I mean, let's be real. Now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do appreciate you watching it, considering I'm not the biggest YouTuber out there at the moment. Please subscribe. Leave me feedback. If it's bad, tell me. If it's good, tell me. I'd love to hear all of it. If you like this video, leave it a thumbs up. If you didn't, leave it a thumbs down. Let me know that you didn't like this video. But please do tell me why if you don't, or if you did, tell me why you did. Also, follow me on Instagram. I do like my fitness as well, and sitting at a computer all day. Yeah, I think fitness is very important. I personally don't sit at a computer all day, but I know that some people out there do. No judging, but you know, you do. So if you do want to follow me on Instagram, it's mattbrand_feet.ft.diabetes. I'll leave a link down in the description for you guys, so you guys can check it out if you like to. But thanks guys so much for watching, and if you want me to review another tank, leave it down in the description. I'll try and get to it if I've got it in my garage, or if I can get it pretty easily. Thanks guys.